Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you remembered to fall back today, or you're here. Are you here too early or too late? But anyway, you're not here at the right time if you didn't fall back. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. This is New Cosmic Knowledge, and that's Wayne Steiger. He's got a new T-shirt. I wonder what it says.
This one says, the voices I know are imaginary, but boy, some of them got some good ideas. So that's the saying for the day here.
Boy, isn't that the truth? You know, Wayne, I was just doing some math, and I don't know why I was doing this math, but I was just thinking about our society and how much emphasis we place on sex and good sex, great sex, all that. And when we talk about a marriage or a relationship, we got to have great sex. And I did the math, and even if you're having sex 3 times a week, which I think would be considered a very healthy sex life, if you're having sex 3 times a week, that comprises 1.7% of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it's getting so much emphasis. What's wrong with us?
The band had the song, Take the Load Off. You know, we carry a heavy load. And so we get those rare moments where we can be in that elation. I think it's what it used to feel like wherever we came from. So I guess that's why we're so attracted to it.
But are you really going to make your decisions based on 1.7% of your time?
I know a lot of people that do. I know, as the old expression, I know a lot of guys that think with their second head. So, I mean, a lot of decisions have been made. Can we say Bill Clinton?
But 1.7 seconds?
Well, it occupied the
1.7%.
I don't know. It's one of those interesting things about our species. We find that whole issue. I've heard theories that they say that that's the real sin, is that sex was reserved for the gods, the orgasm, that was privileged.
Oh, I got some stuff to talk about that.
Well, go ahead.
Well, no.
Entrez-vous.
But think about it. It reminds me of an old joke I heard, guy in Bible college. He's got this really hot, beautiful, sexy girlfriend, but she can't play piano. She can't really speak. Then there's this other girl that's pretty nice. She's okay, but boy, she can play the piano. She can play the organ. She knows how to run a website and everything. So and he's a pastor, and he's deciding which one would be a better wife. And, the one that's gorgeous, or the one that can sing and play piano and all that. So they get to their wedding night, and it's time to consummate the marriage. And he's thinking about that other girl, and he turns to his new wife and says, "Quick, honey, sing me a song." 1.7%, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, but again. So how was your week, my friend?
How was my week? My week was really good. I had a lot of heavy revelation come down on me, good stuff, but a lot of heavy stuff. So yeah, it's been an interesting week, and I've got stuff, Wayne, that I want to talk about. I'm not even sure I can talk about. I might have to do it on just a webinar, seminar. I don't even know if I can do it straight up on YouTube. There's just a lot of stuff coming down. I think I might have the answer, but I don't know if I can talk about it.
Yeah, those are the paradoxes of life.
They are, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
How was your week?
Great. Had a great week. I just got to say, it's a joy to be alive. We had a great little fundraiser for Warrior Princess Friday night. And
how much did you raise? Can I ask?
Yeah, I think it was over $1,200.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And
she's happy.
Oh, yeah. Now we just got to wait. How YouTube is in their payments,
Oh, that was through
yes,
Super Chat?
Super Chat, yeah. So, but anyway, it was phenomenal. Just a lot of giving people out there, just tremendously. We got a great group. That's all.
Well, 60% of 1,200 is better than 100% of nothing.
Yeah. So we had a good time on that, and
Lois says more like 1,500.
Oh, well, what'd you get through? Now, she also got something through on her PayPal, which, I think next
PayPal,
time.
they take only a couple percent.
Yeah.
Maybe less than 2.
Yeah, and I think the next time we're going to do this, that we won't do the super chat, that we'll just ask people to go directly into PayPal.
That's still almost $1,000 any way you cut it. That's going to help a lot of people.
It's going to feed a lot of people.
It really
So
is.
we are a very generous, very giving group of people in so many different ways. So
Absolutely, we are. And Drew Schrader, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, says that daylight savings freaks him out. He gets so confused. And daylight savings is a weird thing, isn't it?
yeah, it is.
It's like purpose time manipulation or something.
Well, it's an archaic law that was put into place in World War II, and it's never been changed. And it was primarily put in for agriculture and farmers.
Right.
And we're not an agrarian society.
But like Ronald Reagan once said, the closest thing we'll ever see to eternal life in this world is a government regulation. So it would be really time to get rid of it, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But there's a reason why they keep it. It must be money.
There's my
Kipper.
There he is. Sits right over here on the mantle, as they would say.
I met him in the 92 Republican National Convention, and I had my first daughter who was a baby, and I was carrying her. You know, obviously she was a baby, and I had her in my arms. And when they introduced me to him, they said, "Oh, Mr. President, this is Jeff and his new baby daughter." And Reagan was supposed to have dementia at that time and supposed to be all, not sharp or anything. He looked at me and says, "Well, I'm glad they didn't give you an old one."
He had a great sense of humor.
He did.
I worked with the Missouri Republican Party back in the day, and we did all the filming of all the candidates that came through.
Right.
And got to know him. Yeah. So it was pretty cool. So, right. He's there, you and I were talking. What we lack today in our leaders, in leadership, is integrity.
It is. And the problem is that people with integrity won't run.
They won't. They will not.
I was just talking to somebody about running for office, and they're like, "Oh, no, I can never do that. I'm a behind-the-scenes person. That's not my thing." And it's probably true, but wow, the people that do have the integrity and, "Oh, no, that's not for me," that's the kind of people that you want in office.
Well, I think
reluctant servants. That's really who you want.
Well, on my radio show on Thursday night, where I'm not restricted because of free speech, I just laid it out, and I can't repeat it here, but people go listen to it. The problem is that it's a broken system. It's broken. It's no longer even remotely influenced by the people. And that's
true. Now, people have said to me, Wayne, and I don't think I'll just be frank. I know that's unlike me, but I'm not convinced yet that this is true. But even Jay Campbell, Derek Bros were saying that even if none of us voted, they would still pretend that there was an election and they would still put a president in office that they put in office. Are we really at that place? I know what we're supposed to say is conspiracy theorists, and I know what we're supposed to say in this genre, but are we really at that place that Mark Twain spoke about when he said that voting was that important they wouldn't let us do it in the first place?
I think it's true. We have counties in the United States where more people are voting than people that actually live in the county. That means the whole population. We have in many states the dead.
I miss my chair, Wayne.
I know you do. Get that back, dude.
I think the chair has met its demise. That's the intel I'm getting.
Well, we'll lay hands on a new one. So, but you have, and I said this, I always say it, it seems like dead people all vote Democrat. And
there's a T-shirt.
I mean, and it's, you can look at the voting rolls. Listen, the one thing that the 2016, why Clinton backed out of it in her public count of the vote was that because it would show that this thing is rigged. Listen, the voting machines, if you're using an electronic voting machine, there's two software companies that do the programming. Now, I that's my industry. I've been in, for decades. The thing is, those voting machines, guess who the funds that invested in those software companies the money comes from?
Soros, right?
Exactly. Yeah, George Soros.
Yeah.
And we got reports in Texas. We got reports already coming out of Pennsylvania. We got reports coming out of Florida that the machines are flipping the votes. So, you can't trust the election in the United States today. You cannot.
So do we stop voting?
Well, I think that this becomes, I read today in one of my Intel e-zines I get, the surprise move for 2019, 2020 will begin the push for a constitutional convention.
Ah, there we go. That would be great.
They're going to do it. So it's a Pandora's box. I mean, you've got those on one side who say we need to. You got others on the other side, constitutionalists, that say, well, if you start tampering with this, then the whole thing's going to break down. But it's broken.
It is broken. And but, again, if nobody voted, they'd still do it. Then why in the world did why in the world did Trump get put in last time? I don't think anybody within the deep state establishment wanted Donald Trump.
I'll tell you. Okay. I belonged, as you know, and I'm not going to give the organization's name, but it was one of the most conservative elite groups out there to be a member of. Let me tell you what Trump did, and they won't talk about it. Hillary did. And she woos the day. Trump is a brilliant strategist. He realized something, that he couldn't overcome the popular vote. But what he could do was take the Electoral College. And this is Civics 101, ladies and gentlemen. We do not live in a democracy. The United States is a republic. No democracy. A republic.
At best, it's a constitutional republic.
It's a constitutional republic, correct. And that means that's why we have the Electoral College. It was one of the most brilliant moves of all times that I've seen in presidential strategies.
I think Trump's campaign this last time was the best political campaign that's ever been run. But again, if it's all set up and voting doesn't matter, then why would they even go through all that charade? I'm not there yet, Wayne, to think that voting doesn't matter. Well,
here's the thing. And so let's expand the caveat up. Trump, as much said it was a rigged system. He was right. But the only way that the system cannot be rigged is through the Electoral College. The Democrats didn't figure that out.
People want to yell and scream, we got to get rid of the Electoral College. That's the Democrats that say that, because the Electoral College makes sure that you can't win New York in California and get elected president.
That's exactly it. And
all of the states get a representation and a say. Because if there was no Electoral College, the Democrats would win California, Oregon, New York. It'd be over.
It'd be over. Yeah, you would absolutely have no voice. And that's what the founding fathers realized. Here's what the Clintons failed to recognize. And that was they left their back end flank open. And that was Wisconsin, Michigan. And with Trump saw those early numbers way back when the convention was still going, I think they made a strategic move to get Wisconsin, get Michigan, and then work for Pennsylvania. And that's exactly how it fell.
Yeah, and they got all three, and that's why they won.
Yep, that's exactly it. So there we go.
And of course, Florida was the linchpin, getting Florida.
Yeah, you guys down there. I'm a proponent. Let's get the paper ballot. Let's stand in line. Let's get my paper ballot. Let me punch it. Then let me seal it. And then let me put it into the box.
Yeah, we need to get rid of the machines totally and completely. Then we'd have a real election.
Boy, we got the whole thing going, patriot.
We'd have a real election. I mean, I'll tell you, I know people don't like this, and I know it'll probably cost me subscribers, but I voted for Donald Trump. And I voted for Donald Trump because I thought that it was one last shot for a restoration to something that actually resembles Jeffersonian democracy. And I did, whether I was right, whether I was wrong, whether I was duped, whether I wasn't, well, we'll find out.
I always vote my pocketbook.
Well, then you voted for Donald Trump.
And, I had to look at the balance sheet. And the way that this was coming in, the two polarizations, and boy, talk about the principle of polarization, polarity. There you go. It's the same thing, just different degrees.
Yeah, it is. And, I have a friend who's very wealthy, and he was talking to me, and he's like, look, man, we really, unless you want the economy to tank, you really do need to vote for Donald Trump. And he took me through it and walked me through it. And I'm like, he's absolutely right. And I know that people like to yell at rich people and say how bad rich people are and how rotten rich people are and how dirty rich people are. Well, first of all, most of them made their money by, honest, hard work. And second of all, poor people don't create jobs, ladies and gentlemen. Do you want a job? Then you need some rich people.
And here's the thing. These people that just do no longer have any manners, no longer have civility, they're privileged. Compared to the rest of the world, these people are wealthy and rich. And all I see are petulant, immature adults who have not grown up yet.
And everybody says, well, the government will take care of us. We'll get it from the government. Stop and think for a second. What does the government produce? What does the government produce? They produce nothing. How do you think the government gets money? By taking it from people like us. You don't get anything from the government. You get it from other people's money. This whole thing about, the government will take care of me. It's not the government. It's other people. And guess what? If you don't have rich people, they can't take their money and give it to you because you're too lazy to go to work.
Well, I'll tell you where we're heading. And I'm not a Christian, but I will say this. One of the best books I read on this subject was from John Hagee. And
really?
Yes, he wrote a book called The Financial Armageddon. And I read the book. And
please do not post this thing anymore about Trump or I'm going to kick you out. That's like 6 times.
That's sad. Come on, folks. Don't play the game.
Sorry,
but anyway,
I lost my temper.
What Hagee wrote was he went back and he looked at all the past democracies going all the way back to the Greeks. And now you can actually add the Sumerians to this. And what they found in every democracy of every civilization that these cultures was that the democracy of taking care of the poor, giving people money to live on, et cetera, every one of them collapsed because what happened was the burden became so great upon the producers that the producers no longer wanted to produce. And when they stopped producing, those that were getting the handouts, guess what? There were no longer anyone to feel that point, and they collapsed.
That's what happens, Wayne, when you get the taxation 47%, 48%, 49%, and then you get it 57, 60%. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a person that wants to continue to make money, is it worth going through everything you have to do to make money to only be able to keep $4 out of your, or $40 out of your 100? No, it gets to that point where forget it. I'll go fly my jet to the Bahamas and watch girls in bikinis walk by, and you don't get a job.
Yeah,
because they're investing in the economy.
And now we got states like Texas. Texas is loving what California is doing. They're driving the tech out because today you can make $250,000 in San Francisco and you are still almost above the poverty level.
Right. And by the way, I am not even close to a rich guy. If I want to see the top of a dime, I got to climb up on the top of a nickel. So don't act like I'm a rich guy.
Oh, there is a secret to making wealth, and people don't understand it. There is a process to it. And, I said to this week, I was at a group. I said, I take from, they said, well, why don't you use the Bible anymore? I said, I don't believe in it. But that doesn't mean I can't take the jewels that I gathered from it. And the best one I ever got was Habakkuk 2:4, which says, write the vision down.
Yeah.
The first step to generating wealth.
Really says, what's a dime?
It's smaller in size than a penny, believe it or not.
It's worth 10 times as much.
Yes, figure that one out. And
it's funny with kids, because back when I was in South Florida, I was a wonderful little girl in my life, and I could have a handful of change, right, and a $50 bill, and she'd rather have the handful of change than the $50 bill.
it's that, it's like, oh, I got it in my hand, baby.
There's more here, so it's got to be worth more, right?
Exactly.
Not
But,
so much. But
you
she
know,
figured that out pretty quickly.
yeah. I mean, I figured out when I was on the street, living on my own at 15, very quickly, the group that I was with, we began to figure this thing out. There was an underground newspaper in Houston. We lived in the Montrose area called the Liberty Press. And we would go and buy a paper for 15 cents and we would sell them for 25 cents plus tips. And very quickly, you begin to understand, okay, so if I invest, I have to invest at least 80% of the value of what I'm going to be looking back. And a 20% return on your money is not bad.
Yeah, the old saying, "It takes money to make money," is true.
It is very true. When I sold pot, we would go down.
Let me just say that Wayne no longer is involved in
No.
illegal import export
No.
businesses.
This was when I was this. In fact, I'll tell you, it's back in 1971, and so we would buy a pound of pot for $100.
Not that we're recommending that you do this, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, it's going to be legalized. I mean, Canada has already tipped the dominoes. It's just the United States is. I'll tell you this: by 2022, it will be legal everywhere, and I'll tell you why. Because the United States must find a new avenue of tax revenue.
And it's all GMO'd up now, too. So is it even any good anymore for the people that like it?
I don't know if it's GMO'd up. I know a lot of people. I know investors here in the industry that they have very strict protocols. But the point is,
funny that now we're talking about the subject of pod and we're talking about investors in the industry.
Oh, I mean, they're making money hand over fist. In fact, I'll tell you where the money from Silicon Valley is going. It's coming here to Colorado, Oregon, Washington. We've got now, there was a case that was ruled Friday. There was a conservative group that brought a lawsuit against a grower here in Colorado. So they got a federal grand jury seated. They brought the case. The grand jury billed the case, so it went to trial. Now, they had already won 2 victories in Oregon and in Washington, which then made these growers under the RICO Act. Here in Colorado, the jury said no. They ruled for the marijuana growers. Now we've got a conundrum here. But yeah.
We've got a very smart person in the chat room, Wayne, that made this statement, and I've heard it several times. And I want you to respond to it, if you will, because you know more about this than I do. And the statement is being made that the cabal loves the pot industry.
Well, I define cabal. I mean, what? There's many different cabals. What are we talking about here?
I think she's saying that big money, big government, the Illuminatis, etc., really like the cannabis movement.
Oh, yes. In fact, it's odd. We're even talking. I just got this book and I just started reading it, Jeff.
And I'll be right back, Wayne, so continue on.
I just wanted to see that. Do you see that?
I see that.
Okay. So the inevitability is that the United States will become the next major superpower to actually legalize cannabis. The FDA on Friday made the first CBD extracted cannabinoid now available throughout the United States. Anyone on the pharmacist, this is treating primarily epilepsy, seizures. We all know that this works well. I see the industry moving to the eye industry. You're going to start seeing it for treating in cataracts. I think that this is going to begin and open. And the big pharma sees it as well. They know it. So there we go. I always like talking. This is good. So anyway.
So you don't think there's anything dark or tawdry about the fact that big money and the cabal, quote unquote, is all about the pot industry?
Oh, I think you got a lot of players in there. I really do. I know a lot of Silicon Valley people that are getting into the industry. They're looking at it for the huge upside returns of 400 or 500x returns. And that's what we're looking at right now.
I've also heard that, like, if you and I wanted to start our own farm and grow and sell to these dispensaries, that is very, very hard for us to do it. It's kind of an elite group that's able to really do it. It's not every man and woman for themselves.
No, those days are over. That happened here in Colorado 5 years ago.
And what is that? What exactly is that?
Well, when the citizenry of the state of Colorado voted in 2000, I think it was 2014. Yeah, I think it was, to legalize marijuana for recreational use. It had already been for medical. Now, when those petitions finally got approved by the Secretary of State to be put onto the ballot, millions and millions of dollars were begun to move into Colorado that they were waiting. And they're the ones, by the way, that influenced a lot of what the regulations write. And so an individual like you and I'll tell you how much it'll cost us. If we wanted to get in, you would have to have probably $5-6 million personally. And then you're going to be part of a group.
Really? So how long would it take you to make your 5 or 6 million back?
Well, I think the way the current rate is, I can only tell you by what we look at the tax revenue on what the state of Colorado. Usually you can make your money back within the first 18 to 24 months.
So it's still a pretty good investment if you got 5 million laying around.
Yeah, it really is. And now you got states, even states like Louisiana, Mississippi. I'm sure it's, in fact, I think in Florida, you folks have now approved for medical marijuana.
Right, and I voted for that, even though I'm not a pot person. I can appreciate the medicinal.
Yeah, and it does. Of it. It does. So it's you just got to look down the road, and I look at it from this economic war that's coming. It's already here, but I think President Trump is astute enough. I know the guy running Treasury is a smart dude. He's one of the smartest, brilliant minds where it comes to understanding monetary policy. I'll guarantee you, Jeff, sitting in someone's desk right now is Plan M. Let's just call it Plan M, for where they're going to introduce probably into a failed measure first in Congress for the legalization of it, for a vote on a national ballot scale. I think what they'll have to figure out is how can they get the majority of the states. We're almost there. All we need is, I think, 31 states, and I think we're 2 states away from that.
How long does 8 ounces of pot last somebody?
I don't know. I don't smoke marijuana, so
it's that 8 ounces is $50. So I'm just trying to figure how long that lasts somebody.
8 ounces for $50? No. Here in Colorado, for you to buy an ounce of pot would probably run you about $400 an ounce.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But now let me say this. I have sampled what they grow today. What I was selling, what I was smoking back in 1971, 72, 70, in those times, the potency today it's not even the same plant.
And is that GMO'd?
No, I think that, well, it's through genetic, I guess you can say what they've done is the same thing that they've done throughout what man does. Man grafts different plants to enhance it.
Gotcha.
And how it started is that it used to be Hawaii was the place that you really wanted to get your pot from. It had the perfect climate. They had Maui Wowie gold. That's what they called it back in the day.
It's just so funny that we have the level of expertise on marijuana in this chat room almost scares me.
You see, Jeff, and this is your channel.
Wow, I know. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
This ain't my channel.
Wow.
But you see, this is the culture that now exists today. And it's here. And, I read a Pew research study that says the 30s and unders prefer cannabis. The beer industry is collapsing because they can't get this new generation to come drink the beer. They want to smoke the pot.
Well, beer is never really, Very rarely does beer taste good. It's like, or I mean, how often does alcohol taste good? You got to force yourself when you're young to drink it, and then you get yourself convinced that you like it. I guess maybe wine is maybe an exception to that, but still,
I
man.
used to be a real connoisseur of wine, and I mean a connoisseur of it. And again,
And I always kind of thought it tastes like a sewer.
it, you know what I did like? I liked Mai Tais.
Wayne, you never cease to amaze me.
When Lynn and I got married in Hawaii, they brought us Mai Tais, and I went, oh, that's pretty good stuff. But the problem is with spirits, they will extract the energy out of you. That's why I tell people don't drink alcohol. While
Yeah.
you're feeling that dehydration, that is literally a spiritual energy that has been sucked out of you.
I agree 100%.
That's my
So
contention.
Wayne, can Jesus be rescued? Can the Christ be rescued from Christianity?
Good question. I saw that show, and I'm reading this book by Hans Jonas. Jeff, you've got to get this book.
The Gnostic Religion.
Read the top part of it. Can you read the top part?
The Message of the Alien God and the Beginnings of Christianity. I like it.
This guy is a professor. Wrote this back in, I don't know.
Fortune to get over to my pencils.
A number, I think it was about 100 years ago. And wow.
Vince Proctor says the spirit of tequila makes women's clothes fall off. Is that true? What's the name of that book again, Wayne?
It's The Gnostic Religion by Hans Jonas.
Okay.
The reason is it's a fascinating. They took a while. They had to translate it from his original language, which I think was Scandinavian.
Sounds Dutch, maybe. Or
yes, yeah, it's definitely up there. Whoa! What the evidence shows? They knew that they were worshiping an alien god. In fact,
I think Moses knew that he called in an alien.
I think he did. I think that the only way you can define God is that God is an alien.
Yeah. Well, just by plain definition, if they came here and created this, they came from somewhere else, which means they're extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
Period.
And that starts jacking with your mind when you really get into it, because now all the sci-fi, all the modern day genre that we're so immersed into, man, you just start stepping back and you go, all right, let's strip off some of the layers here. It's saying, folks, you're worshiping an alien.
Yeah. And although I can't see how this would be true, I'm just passing this on as a public service announcement. Delaney Jackson says that Corbel brandy is Viagra in liquid form.
Yeah.
But I thought alcohol was a depressant.
Well, okay, let's take it from an alchemy point of view.
See, Wayne, you're thinking up here and I'm thinking down here.
Yeah. And that's all it is. It's distilled.
And she says you were smoking some dirt weed, Wayne.
When?
I don't know what that means. Back in the 70s, I think she was saying.
I don't know. I had some pretty good stuff. But anyway, the time that I actually
I'm assuming dirt weed is not good.
I don't know. We got some really good stuff from Adam Morrison.
And I've seen the word skunk used a couple times in reference.
Skunk weed? Yeah, that was back in the day. Yeah.
That wasn't good stuff either?
I don't know. Get you high. Isn't that what people... Isn't that why people smoked marijuana? Get high? Isn't that why people drink? Get high? But, getting back to distilled spirits.
Dirt weed equals trash weed.
Oh.
Okay, distilled spirits.
A direct correlation there from an alchemist point of view. I look at it and I go, holy crap, why didn't we see this? But the common person doesn't.
Right.
They'll drink it and, they immediately have the inhibitions go away. Yeah, they're going away. There's a reason for it. Because, partner, you just got company.
You just got some company. Isn't that the truth?
Is the old expression.
Isn't that the truth?
You just got served, brother.
You did.
Yeah.
It's just like and I went over this yesterday. Paul writes it, or it's written in Revelation, that I don't want you to be lukewarm. I want you to be cold or hot. And if you break that down, Wayne, it says, I want you cold-hearted or hot-headed. I don't want you balanced.
Ooh.
And of course, the God of the Bible wants us cold-hearted or hot-headed, because he wants us just like us, and he wants us to where he can use us. So he's trying to talk us out of being balanced, trying to talk us out of the middle way, trying to talk us out of the straight and narrow path, and get us to where we think, oh, lukewarm is bad, let me be an extremist. No, we got to be passers-by. We've got to be the people that don't pick a side. We got to be smart, because if you're cold-hearted or hot-headed, he can use you and abuse you. But if not, you're beyond his grasp.
So, Jeff, yesterday morning, my wife and I went to an event. It was in a church. And no, I didn't get struck down, and, flames weren't coming out. But so we're in this event, and I'm looking around, and this is a $30 million church that they have spent. I mean, it's got a theater, it's got a whole cafeteria, it's got the whole, yeah.
Did it have a Starbucks?
They had their own custom coffee bar, and along with bagels, and the whole deal. And as we're waiting in line, I'm looking around, and I did this on purpose, and I said, honey, is God a Christian? Oh, crap.
Out loud, he says it.
I did. I had a woman standing next to me. She stopped what she was. She looked at me and she said, where the hell that come from?
Wayne, last Sunday, if you remember, I was wearing that shirt, Jesus Slaves. I had it on.
Yes, I do. I remember that.
We have this nice little restaurant down the road. So I just got done. You were talking about Lynn making you breakfast, and I was feeling all sorry for myself.
Sorry.
I walked down the street and went to this restaurant. Everybody's looking at me. I'm not thinking it's Sunday morning. I've got this shirt on that says Jesus Slaves. Yeah. I was, I just covered up the bottom S.
Jeff, you were going to be shown the left foot of fellowship, brother, right out the door.
There was a bunch of people. Usually someone, when I wear that, will come up to me and say something, but it was mostly old people, and I guess they were too polite to say, boy, what's that shirt mean?
Well, there was one guy that I believe was awakened, and he came by and he put his hand on my shoulder and he says, you're one brave son of a bitch.
So did you get any more talking to, or just that one lady?
Well, no, we actually got a chance to engage. There was another woman behind us, and she actually wanted to actually start talking. And so I started telling her about the 7 Hermetic Principles.
In a church.
In a church. And I told her, I said, this book will save your life.
You were worse than a Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, I got to tell you, my wife was like, she just, she gets a kick out of it. She says, you're doing this on purpose. But I said,
no kidding.
I said, the Kabbalion. I said, you've got to read the Kabbalion. It will change your life. And she says, why? And so I gave her the 7 principles right there. And she says, that makes sense.
It does make sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Can the message of the Christ be saved from the Bible?
Oh, you had a guy on, what was that? UNJ. Who was that? The Great White.
Oh, Bob Sanders. Yes.
Yeah, Bob Sanders.
I say facilitator, but Jay is a better word. Emissary.
Emissary. Yeah.
Of the Great White Brotherhood.
So I'm thinking more and more as I'm reading this book. Didn't you say at some point when I was catching, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you were doing a word study that the Christ appeared as a man?
Yes. And I went through that with Scotty Roberts the other night.
Yeah, that's where it was, Scotty.
He wasn't buying what I was selling, but I know what it is linguistically, and there's no doubt that the Christ manifested as a full-grown man, walking, talking, living, breathing. He showed up 32 years old, ladies and gentlemen.
I am convinced of that as well. I think that when the Flavians invented Christianity, along with Philo and the Herodian family, they stole that. I believe that he was, in fact, a messenger. I believe
agree 100%.
that whoever he was, that he was an emissary. I think that
The Christ we're talking about.
yes, and I do not believe. I think they had to add the crucifixion because if you don't have a martyr story, then you don't have a story.
Wayne, did they make it up, or was there a false flag crucifixion? That's the only thing I'm not quite sure of yet.
I think they took who was the guy, and his name escapes me, but the one that Titus crucified in 69 A.D. is where they picked up that crucifixion and transplanted it back to the story of the Christ man.
Which is easy because when you're the winners and winners written or history is written by the winners, it's easy to do.
People don't understand, Jeff, that the reason why Titus knew exactly where to go into the temple. I mean, the people don't understand that the temple was filled with booby traps.
People don't understand that the guy whose dad gave the money and made the plans for the great doors of the temple, his son was Titus's right-hand man. That's how they were able to get in the temple. And that's in Apostle Paul Antichrist.
They knew. And when they went in to get the sacred documents, now I think that the Jews did have, let me just say this. I'm not a Jew, not a Hebrew, don't want to be. I don't want anything to do with their God, but I do believe it exists.
Wayne Steiger, not a Jew.
I'm not a Jew, folks. I'm not Jewish. In fact, I had a Jewish rabbi say, do the Jewish people a favor. Don't convert.
Don't convert.
Don't convert. Just keep on going, Jack.
Somebody just said that they think it was Marduk on the cross. That's interesting.
Well, that's an interesting. Now
I'm going to get that lady on the show. Her name is Saray, I believe. Is that right? And she wrote a book about being a princess and loving yourself or something like that just caught my eye. And Sine Seal or Sealy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, getting back to this whole point, I believe he was a visitor.
Oh, I do believe it. He was too. Do you believe a dude actually showed up?
I believe that there was a being that walked among us. As they
I do too, even though I can't prove it. I still think that he was here.
Yeah, I still say that they walk among us today.
Oh, now you're getting in trouble, Wayne. Now you're saying that the Christ is walking amongst us today.
Well, the Christ consciousness.
Now you're really, there were some people coming your way, Wayne, but you just shot them all down. Got you off. You just took out your Gatling gun and
Martha,
it was done.
Let's get our stuff and get on out of here. This is heresy.
It's like in Tombstone when Doc Holliday wins all the money and they all start getting upset, and he calls Big Nose Kate over and, darling, I believe we've outstayed our welcome. Let's go.
Yeah, it's like, all right,
take our money and go.
I have some people that want to get that T-shirt I have that says, I'm going to hell and so many other religions. Yeah. But it's true. You can't have all these religions in the world. All these people can't be all wrong. And if they're all right, then that really kind of says what kind of immersion we're involved here.
Yeah. It's amazing. So, Wayne, is it possible? I'll ask you the same question I asked Scotty, and he said not only no, but hell no. But is it possible to reform Christianity at this stage and do something new that has the Christ message and has the message, it has none of the old garbage and all of the old good, and get people out of the God spell and into a reformed Church of the Master or something like that? Is that possible?
I think with Scotty, I love you, dude, but I have to say this, that the Barna Group and I believe the Pew Research Study, they keep track numbers on this. There's up to 10 million people a month worldwide leaving Christianity.
But will they come to something new?
Well, and here's the interesting thing. I say yes, because the Pew Research, when they asked this group, they said of even professing Christians, they found 89% of professing Christians hold at least one New Age belief as canon.
Yeah. How do you rebrand it? Tracy very smartly says it has to be rebranded. How would one rebrand it?
Well, you're going to have to, number one, do the steps that the World Council of Churches is looking to do right now, and that's now to disassociate the Old Testament. And
very good. Yep.
And that's your first step. So then you're going to get to the Jeffersonian debate, the paradox. Which gospel? Is
Yeah.
it the gospel that, was initially written as the control matrix, or was it going to be this new religion by a fanatic known as Paul? I don't know. But
Wow.
they're taking steps to do that right now. And listen, I think the wild card to all this, I was on a show last night, Ravenwolf channel, and we were looking at an article. AI is here. There is now the church of AI. There has been the
Right.
church of Google for over a decade. But I say in another 100, 200 years, we will eventually morph all of these beliefs into, I think, a central belief system.
A one world religion, Wayne?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's inevitable. I think that's where it's going to go.
Thank you, Paula. Where can we get a T-shirt? JeffreyDarty.com. You can find the T-shirts.
I don't know which T-shirt she's.
Yeah, there's some in there, and if you have, I'm always open to new suggestions for T-shirts.
There you go. So that, I think, is what we're seeing right now. I mean, you look at this awareness that's going on. I mean,
Wayne, what if you had the "I'm with Stupid" T-shirt, that has the.
Yeah.
What if you had one that said "I'm with Stupid" and it pointed to either a church or a plastic Jesus?
It's going to be a bestseller. I think that's the whole thing. I was talking to a person via email, and they were trying to justify the actual biblical, the gospel stories of Jesus.
And subscribe to Wayne's channel, R. Wayne Steiger.
Oh, well, thank you. And I wrote back and I said, okay, time out. I said, let's say that this story actually happened. I said, so who is daddy? Well, he says, well, that's not relevant.
Who's your daddy?
Yeah, who's your daddy? And I wrote back to him and I said, oh, how can you say it's not relevant? I mean, if you're saying that this being incarnated into the flesh, that goes into a lot of religions for thousands and thousands of years about deities incarnating into the flesh. I said, so where is origin?
Yeah.
And you know what he wrote me? He says, you pissed me off so much because he says, now I have to go back and think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at least he was.
And they do that to you all the time.
Huh? Yeah, I mean, that's okay.
It's like,
I don't get called the Antichrist before I have my coffee. I wonder what's wrong.
Well, I just send all the newly awakened ones, they're got to get themselves unindoctrinated. I send them over to you. I said, go see the doctor.
Right.
I said, he can help you out on that. And then when you get out, now you can start exploring, the other marvelous opportunities of thought.
So, Wayne, is it worth the work to try to reform that mess, or do you just stand on the dock and just talk to the rats that jump ship as they sense it going down?
Oh, I think the ship is already afire. I think that this Pope is really, he's getting desperate, and he's losing cohesion within the matrix of their structure. And, he's already said that it's Satan that's attacking the church, that people need to start invoking the angels, that he's introducing new reform of which can only be called socialist ideas.
Exactly.
But this is weird. I mean, just standing back watching this, I mean, it's like, okay, what's next? And then look,
you don't know.
Then look at the church that I call the church in the United States, the Church of the United States, because we so often, and I'll just say this, Americans corrupted Christianity to the point that it can't be fixed, because we injected materialism into the religion. And that's evident by the religions of tithing, giving to the church, even though you're so poor and so broke that somehow God is going to look upon you favorable for your gift, and that somehow it's going to count for you when you get to heaven.
Wayne, it's a weird thing, though, and this just came to my mind as you said that, and I don't really know how to explain it. Sorry, I had to cough there. Let me lay it out for you. When I was pastoring, I only pastored 2 churches. Usually I just was an evangelist, but I was a pastor and people were reluctant to tithe. So what I did was I told the bookkeeper, if someone tells you they're going to start tithing and they're going to try it out, they're on a tithe trial, take their money and set it aside, take their 10% and set it aside. And if it gets to the end of the month and they can't make their bills, we'll give it back to them. You know that I never had anybody ask for it back.
Yeah.
What is that? How is that? What's that all about?
Well, I am a little expert on this subject. I built the first mobile giving app for churches.
Right.
And so understanding tithing.
Thank you, Joan.
That's weird. Was key. And, tithing is not preached or practiced in all Christian denominations.
Right.
Giving is encouraged. And I remember meeting with church councils and telling them how they could begin to set it up so that they could take it automatically out of a person's checking account. And that scared more church councils than you could imagine. It was like, you're going to take money right out. And I said, well, if you're practicing tithing, I said, take it out now. And I said, they'll never know it's gone. And the question I asked, though, Jeff, if we were to ask for our money back, would we get it?
Well, I would have given it to them. We had it set aside.
You would have, but I don't know many churches that would. I mean, they've built these epitaphs now.
Well, of course they won't now. Joel's not going to give you your money back.
Yeah, that's just it. It's like, hey, Kenneth.
You'll be like, no, I'm so sorry. You can't have it back.
It's like, can I get my $100,000 back, please?
Yeah, it'd be like that lady in the where the hell did you come up with that idea? No, you can't have your money back. Get out of here.
And, listen, giving is good.
Why did it happen? And it probably, that was a little church. It was probably only maybe 25 or 30 people that ever actually went on that plan. But some people are saying, was it because they were too embarrassed to ask it back? Or did giving actually make it to where they could, was there some alchemy involved in them giving with the proper intention that did bring the money back to them?
I say yes, and medical science.
Of course, God had nothing to do with it, but
no, God didn't have anything. But giving, and you give of the heart of a joyful intent, it releases endorphins in your brain, and it makes you feel good. When you start feeling good, it opens up more creativity.
That's true.
More creativity blocks out that negative energy. So the opportunities that pass us all by every day, you get swept up into those opportunities, and it will return.
Absolutely. Drew says that he found $40 in the shrubs this week. I'm just wondering, Drew, were those your shrubs?
It's interesting that I heard someone this week found a $100 bill, and they've been using the favor blessing, the invocation. And I'm saying,
really?
Well, yes. Yeah. Well, when you speak favor into your enemies' lives, if you have an argument with your lover, your husband, your child, whatever, and instead of retorting back, you just say, well, you know what? I just speak favor in your life. Don't understand.
You're preaching to the choir on that one, Wayne.
Yeah, I know it. So let's all get up and say amen.
Let's all get up and say amen.
What was it that we used to say back in the day? I'm not going to shout you down, brother, because you're preaching good.
Yep.
Here I am. And Jeff, I look back at those revivals and those days, and, all of us were looking for an answer.
Yeah, still are, aren't we?
Yeah. And it's that coming together and trying to find that cohesion. Like, does this story make sense? Can I add my faith to it?
And we got people in the chat room saying, no, Satan's the alien, not God. Ladies and gentlemen, in the Bible it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now I ask you something. If God showed up and created the earth, was he from earth? No. If he's not from earth, he's an extraterrestrial. Extraterrestrial means beyond earth. He came from somewhere else. He's an alien, whether you like it or not.
He is. And let me just say about this whole Luciferian nonsense. Folks, there is no Satan. There is no Lucifer. It is a made-up construct. The only evil that exists in and what I would call thought manifestation is what you put to it.
Well, I will say this, Wayne,
That's just my belief.
the biggest devil that most people have a problem with, and if you can conquer this one devil, you probably don't have much worry about any other devil. If you want to know the biggest devil that you deal with, just go look in the mirror.
You know,
that's your devil. That's the one you got to beat.
You know, I was doing an invocation, and I was telling my wife this, and, you know, I challenge the spirits. I challenge them that if they have something, any contract against me, to make it manifest.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm getting serious on this, brother. I mean,
but to make it manifest, what do you mean make it manifest?
Well, the contract, even if it's one that's in the ethereal, has to be made manifest, and it'll be made manifest through thought, dream, vision. Things will come across that will either confirm or deny. You know.
So are you asking for it to actually happen, or are you asking for it to be exposed?
To be exposed.
Gotcha. So you can deal with it.
Yeah. You know, Paul.
I like it.
Paul had that secret too, Jeff, in Colossians. In Colossians 3, that's that one thing about the bond, the note, the deed that had been held hostile against us all of our lives.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And, you know, I spent a lot of time thinking about that back in the decades, back in the days. What was that? That implies that there was a literal contract, Jeff. Now, if there is a literal contract that this magician knew about, then I want to know about it myself. And so when I invoke my magic, I want to know if there is cause against me. So anyway, I digress, but
I gotcha. So Wayne, do you think that crystals can hold bad entities, that we should be careful of crystals?
I think that we had a show on here. So I have one that the Queen of Quartz sent me. Look at this. This is just beautiful. I think that these...
Oh, wow. That's a pretty one.
Oh, it's just beautiful.
Now, how do you know that doesn't have a demon?
Because in this place, the frequency is high. But let me ask you something. The word demon, where is the origination of that word? Is it demon is it to make demand, to demonstrate? Where do we look at that word all the way back to the Greek?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll have to look it up.
Someone wrote me a lengthy email and said, you need to start re-looking at this. That the demons that the church has, how shall we say, I don't know, did a great job of personifying as evil. He said, because you know what? In Hermes' writings, in the Hermeticus, I'm reading, the demons were summoned for the magicians.
Yeah.
So isn't that interesting?
And, you talk about angels, and there's bad angels and there's good angels. Yeah. And I know the derivation of that term, but I'll have to go back and look at demons more in depth. I just haven't looked at that one yet.
Look into that, because there's something there we're missing. I'm not sure. It's obvious that there is a knowledge of these creatures that do exist. In fact, Hermes says that there is a legion of demons around the sun, that they stand to do the bidding of the sun. Now, of course, we know that is an allegorical comparison, but nevertheless.
Yep.
Oh, how interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
That's interesting.
Really interesting. Sorry, folks, that's not for public consumption.
I feel like I'm doing my Artie Johnson. Very interesting.
Exactly. So anyway,
we
sorry,
know
folks,
where you live.
What's that?
You a troublemaker. Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah. Yes.
So anyway,
we got his number.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. See, that is something you ought to work on this week. That'll be a good. That'll get some views.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting stuff. No crystals in your vehicle, says Tinkerbell Cat. I wonder why she says that.
That's interesting.
That is interesting.
So, by the way, So I have finally figured out why I keep hearing this Led Zeppelin song.
Oh,
And
yes. Tell us about that as we finish up today.
yeah, well, let me just express this. When you drive, Jeff, and you're out and you're out in the shopping centers and you're walking around,
Hmm.
sigils are vortices of magic.
Mm.
Wherever that logo or that sigil is, the back of a car,
Yeah, I actually did a
so,
show on this a few months ago.
okay, as you know, what I am beginning to see is that we walk among so many invocations of magic through symbolism.
Oh, those are portals. They want us to walk through them.
Yeah. And the way that so often they capture us is just by the the need for consumerism. I need to
Right.
buy something. You know, it's invoking. Yeah, it's deep. So now when
Wow, it is. And even if you come through that, you buy yourself a BMW because you think all the chicks are going to dig you. And even if they really don't, you drive your BMW thinking like they are. So it has transported you to another place.
it has these sigils are everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff, Wayne Steiger.
Well, Jeff, it's up. I love doing these shows on Sunday. They're fun.
Tell the people where they can find you and your stuff.
R. Wayne Steiger, and just come on over. I mean, love to have you, and we share.
Absolutely. And somebody said our subconscious sees them. Our subconscious does. It's powerful
I
stuff.
think so. Sovereign Key is exactly right. When
Is Sovereign Key in here?
No, I was just seeing
Oh,
Gravity. Deborah was talking about what Sovereign was speaking about. These sigils. So I understand what I'm getting now. There is some powerful, powerful magic going on, folks. Jeff, I'm
and
just telling.
Wayne, they throw it right in our face. The morning mantra today, I just happened to come across this when I woke up this morning and put it out. The word for messenger, both good and bad, in the New Testament is angelo, or and then if you go to the city that is the city of angels or angelos here in the United States, Los Angeles is the city of angels. Los Angeles is the city of messengers. So you might want to be careful of the messages that are coming out of the LA/Hollywood entertainment movie matrix.
Can I add one thing to that, and just to back
Please.
that up? In the Omega Sectarum, that was the Vatican release document. Isn't it odd that the meeting with the aliens didn't take place in New Mexico? It took place in Los Angeles, right outside where we now know as Edwards Air Force Base.
How
There
interesting
was
is
a
that?
spiritual connection there. These aliens, when they landed there, the delegation, they knew it. They had to have a field around them.
Yep. They're even telling us this is the city of messengers.
Yeah. Bet
Y'all
your
get
ass.
ready. They
Jeff,
tell us.
they do. They do.
They tell us.
What do you got going this week, buddy?
Well, tomorrow night we've got Jay Campbell and what's that show called? The Last Stand. A lot of great, and we've got on Thursday night the return of the Rapscallions, and this Thursday we've got the honorary Rapscallion, Rocky Stucci. Shut
Uh-oh.
up in the house. It's going to be great. Good times. And I've got a very exciting week coming up for reasons I'm not going to disclose in this public forum, but it's going to be a good week, Wayne Steiger.
Well, I'm also going to start willing you a new chair, too.
I miss my chair, and I made some discreet inquiries, but ladies and gentlemen, I have to say with a heavy heart that I think the chair got dumpstered. So
It was sacrificed.
yes, I was hoping to make a return trip to redeem the chair, but no amount of ransom is sufficient. It's gone. R.I.P. to the chair.
Well, may you rest in peace.
May he rest in peace.
I see another one.
He's resting in pieces, I think, Wayne.
I see it coming back to you. I really do. I see it reconstituting.
Yeah. So anyway, in every life, a little rain must fall.
Well, it grows the flowers the next week, doesn't it?
It does. And it's kind of like a country video. You leave something behind, and it's like I can see it being knifed and ripped and broken and stomped on. And
As you were talking, I had Brooks and Dunn in my head,
exactly. I was hearing Carrie Underwood.
Okay, well, I knew Ronnie pretty well. We did his videos, and
I understand he's a nice guy.
Oh, gentleman, a true Southerner. I mean, he is the epitome of a Southern gentleman.
Yeah, I met him at the Piggly Wiggly, but it was just, "Hi, Mr. Dunn, thanks for your music." He's like, "Oh, well, thank you."
Yeah, he's just a very, very nice guy. Rita McEntire.
Reba McEntire.
Reba. Yeah, excuse me.
Rita was her sister.
Yeah, so I know she didn't like that either. But anyway.
Hopefully a dumpster diver got the chair and it's being put to good use. That's what I like to think of it that way.
Well, you know what? It's got your vibration to it.
Yeah, I wonder when somebody sits down and they start yelling at people just automatically.
It's like, where'd I get that burr up my butt?
Yeah. I'm going to ban you from this chair. And they sit down. I'm going to ban you.
Listen, I had to do that with an individual, by the way, just belligerent. And
I don't have to ban many people anymore. I used to have a heavy ban finger, but now it's the kinder, gentler Jeff, Well, you go through some stuff and you learn a little bit and you're like, it's okay.
Well, yeah.
I wish I could sing, because there's this one girl I saw on YouTube that she takes her bad comments or nasty comments and she makes them into a song, and it's hilarious. She's got a little mandolin and she plays it.
She has a YouTube channel?
Yes, and she makes a song out of the nasty comments. I'm keeping my nasty comments, but I don't have a mandolin and I can't play that thing, and I don't think it'd be as funny a cappella. I need to recruit some talent. Someone that can do a little song for me with the bad comments. We'll make a video and we'll put it on.
Well, send me that link to her. That would be phenomenal.
Yeah, I can't remember who she is, but she's probably in her 20s, and I forget her channel, but someone sent me the link, and I laughed until I was actually hurting on my side, because she does it like once a month. And
that is an enlightened individual.
And the funny thing is, like, when people, they use bad diction and they spell wrong, she'll say it just the way they say it. Absolutely brilliant.
Now that is a spirit I'd like to get to know.
I need to find somebody who can sing and do that for me, because that sounds just completely brilliant.
All right, folks, we've got the new platform here.
Yeah.
Whoever has that
voice, be a star,
come on. Bring that talent forward.
Absolutely. Wayne, always glad to be with you, brother. And I changed things up this week. I ate breakfast first to see if it would work, and I think maybe I'm a little bit too high of blood sugar. Maybe I need to go back to no breakfast before we get together.
Just the fasting and the caffeine.
Because I was a wreck with this show. It was fun though.
I had a great time. That's why I come.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was informative. It was entertaining.
I can't play the spoons. I should play the spoons and sing the nasty comments. So please keep sending your nasty comments. I need to make a song.
You don't hear that often.
You don't. All right, brother. Nice to see you.
All right, my friend.
Goodbye to everyone in the chat room. We love you all. Take care.